What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of J&B Unsurvived. That's Brandon. I'm Jacob. Listen, we got an action-packed episode, and we're going to jump right into it. And we're going to start with college. We're going to start with the softball World Series, women's. The championship game was Texas versus Texas Tech, and it drew in some big viewership. What was the number? It was like 2.8, I think it was.
2.9 million for the
championship of the final game, game 3.
For the softball, yep.
And that was great. Listen,
that was the highest viewing ever.
It went the full length. Texas ended up winning it, but man, it was an absolute thriller of a World Series for the softball women's team. Nothing to be ashamed of. The men's is going right now. We're down to the Elite 8.
Who we got? Oregon State versus Coastal Carolina.
There we go.
Arizona versus Louisville. And then on the other bracket, you got Arkansas. Number 3, Arkansas versus number 6, LSU. And UCLA versus Murray State.
There we go. So
that is the Final Four.
That is your men's World Series. So like I said, the women's is already over. Congratulate to Texas on their first win. And then the Men's World Series is on their way as well. We'll keep you up to date as they get further along.
Shout out to the Texas Tech player that played with the ACL?
Texas player, yeah, she played the entire
baseman?
Yeah, with the torn ACL.
Whew, boy, just know, like, 1, that been a hell of morphine in that knee. 2, I ain't running nothing out.
No.
Like, if it's not an easy run, I ain't running. And kudos
but shout out to the Texas Tech pitcher. She signed a new 7-figure NIL deal. And on a side note, she went to school here in Topeka, Kansas. So shout out to her. Love to see our Kansas being represented very proudly over there at Texas Tech. She had a hell of a year. She signed a big deal. She's the first pitcher to sign $1 million deal. Then she just gets this 7-figure. Listen, NIL is changing the game. But speaking of NIL money here, Brandon, this was big. We had a judge granted the final approval for House V versus the NCAA, paying back $2.8 billion. Let me repeat that again. $2.8 billion in back pay, going all the way back to 2016 to now. So if you were a college athlete back in 2016, you get some check. I don't know how much cheddar you're getting, but $2.8 billion means you get a nice little chunk of change.
I'd be quite curious to see how they divvy. Obviously, like your major sports like basketball and football, those players will get the biggest percentage of it. But
yes,
obviously every athlete will be getting something. I'd be quite curious to see kind of. Baker Mayfield is one of the names. Johnny Manziel.
Lamar Jackson.
I'm quite curious to see kind of some of those guys that were.
Like, what is Joe Burrow going to get back then from the LSU time? Like, woo, LSU.
Some dudes like that.
Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, yeah.
Nick Chubb. We got so many pro athletes right now that are towards the middle of their career.
Be curious to see if guys from like the 2016, 2017, 2018 will get more money than the guys that just kind of recently came out. Because remember, it's from 2016 to present. So, I mean, that's
I think we're going to have to come forward with the under-the-table money.
Yeah, someone's got to come forward
with the under-the-table money that not maybe... might, skew it a little bit, but that's crazy. $2.8
billion, and we have to ask ourselves...
Who's paying that, though? Is it the NCAA?
I would assume it has to be the NCAA. Because it says, the NCAA will pay nearly $2.8 billion in back damages over the next 10 years to athletes who competed at college at any time from 2016 through present day. I didn't know the NCAA might have. They got money, man.
Well, they do. I mean, they're they have a lot of money.
So,
but after this, this ruling. Like we said, and suppliers are getting paid.
Yes.
At what point in the SEC is already pretty much amount of
That's what I was about to ask you.
We're gonna find out. Yeah. We're gonna leave. At what point does the NCAA body, like the governing body, pretty much gets disassembled?
That's what I was about to ask you. At what point are we going to see just fuck the NCAA and we moving on? Like I think we're getting to that time. Like I think we're almost there. I think now with this ruling, we have to be even closer than what I think we were. Because we have talked about it on a previous episode. Like, at what point is the NCAA? Like, what are you here for? What is your? Now that the judge ruled against you, and now you have to pay, to basically $3 billion in back pay. What are you here for? Who are you? We don't need you.
I guess to grant extra years of eligibility for players that were hurt or redshirted or.
But I think the NCAA is lost all power. They hold no cards. They are nothing at this point, in my personal opinion. And I think we're about to hit a new era in college sports. We really are. We're heading in a completely new era. But are you here for the new era? That's the question I'm also here for too.
Yeah, because I'm here for players. See, you and I think, are both in agreement on this, unfortunately. But I'm here for the players to be able to get paid. The NCAA has fucked so many young athletes over.
Yes.
Whether it became trying to get another year of eligibility or stripping them of their ability to play college ball because they kind of got, swindled or kind of got bamboozled into taking something that they think was okay because these people say, no, it's okay, take this, so they took it.
Like somebody just gave me the game, like, how am I supposed to know?
You have people like Reggie Bush is the biggest name.
Yeah.
The Heisman, the NCAA stripped him of his Heisman. And
you go back to the Fab Five back in Michigan.
But now everybody's getting all that shit back, and so I'm here for the NCAA, governing body being dismantled.
Yes. And
having a democracy in the governing body of college sports, where the Big 12, the Pac-10, the Big 10, and the SEC, and the ACC, the presidents, they all come together. And
I would say, if I had to be a betting man, I say we're going to see something like this in the next 3 years. I'm going to say, because it's going to take some time to organize this as a whole and to move on. I say 3 years. Yeah, I could be wrong. Could be a little bit longer. 5 at max, but I think within the next 3 to 5.
I don't think the NCAA governing body is going to disappear in totality.
No, they can't, obviously. But I
think the power is definitely going to start shifting more towards the conferences, where they're pretty much good. Like Deion Sanders of Colorado and a couple other programs, they wanted to have joint practices.
Yeah,
and the NCAA shut it down.
And then the coach came out and said, like, what are you really going to do to me if I go do it? Like what are you legitimately going to do?
You could put a ban on me? Like, that's the only thing the NCAA is really here for now, is to ban programs that I guess...
Consider we still haven't even banned Michigan yet. Like, nothing's come of that. Like, think about that. That's crazy.
Pretty much that's all they're here for, is just kind of be a police of...
But on that same note, speaking of that, colleges now have a cap, and I believe it's just D1s, right? Got a $20.8 million cap.
20.5 million is projected salary cap per school for 2025-2026 season, and it's believed about 90% of that for every program is going to be spent on basketball and football.
So there you go. Look, think about that, guys. How schools can pay their players directly. They have about 21 million. I'll round up about 21 million to pay their athletes. That's not saying they still can't get NIL deals, boosters, and stuff like that. But colleges can. That's a big thing now to be able to try to keep a player.
So now the program can pay their student athletes, and they have 20.5 million to.
My thing is always is that every single college in? Or how does...
All it says, schools will have a projected salary cap of $20.5 million for all sports in this upcoming season. Most power conference programs are planning to distribute 90% to football and men's basketball. So I'm assuming it's probably... I'm just going to probably just mainly D1. Because, I could be wrong, but that's a lot of money for... D2, D3.
That's what I'm saying. I'd be very curious to know what is the cap for the other schools if it's not the 20. I would be very curious about that. Obviously, we don't have that. When we do get that, we'll definitely bring it on here and we'll discuss it. But having pretty much your top schools be able to have money in their back pocket to be able to pay, I think is very huge. I think maybe now we'll see kids maybe less transfer portal. Maybe?
Well, I think this is a nice stepping stone in trying to help kind of structure a little bit of NIL money, where schools before this probably were a little bit kind of shady under the table, like, oh, we can play a little bit of this money.
Yeah.
Now schools are being, I don't know if I say given, but schools are being capped at, look, you can pay $20 million to your student athletes across the board of all sports. However you want to pay it out, you pay it out. Which obviously is going to be to the big money.
But I also think, too, with this, the schools having now, they have a little bit more power. Like, all right, we're going to need you to, I wonder if it's going to come with any more, like, contract type base. Like,
well, I think because
is it like a 2-year? Like, I got you for 2 years, or I got you for 3 years? Is it a 1-year type of thing? I think having this ability might stop some of these transfer portals so much that we see. Not a lot, because people are still going to enter the portal because you're going to go where the money is. But now that everyone's got the same amount of money across the board, D1 especially, might swindle your decision a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So, I think this is huge. I think that's also big for colleges as well, because again, don't need the NCAA for that. I have the money, and I get to spend it. So
yeah, I just think it's a nice way to kind of help structure, and I think we'll do it down with some players jumping ship and leaving because they might be able to get a little bit more NIL money, but the program might be able to offer a little bit more money to you. But it's to be quite curious to see how certain programs they structure how they spend their money. Obviously, they come out and said most power schools are going to put it in.
When I think about I think the schools that will use most of their money of that, I think of like the Ohio States, Bama. Like the schools you really think about football, most of that money is going.
It says 90%. 90% of the $20.5 million is going to be used on basketball and football because that's the biggest revenue sport. That's what makes the college programs the most money.
Yes.
And so in a way, even other student athletes that will be getting less because your sport, whatever it may be, doesn't.
But I also like this too. Like I also look at it like
you still benefit though because you still get upgraded facilities that you still get to go and use, a la like the gyms. And, the track and field and so forth and so on, you still kind of get the benefit from those programs being successful. I think if Notre Dame comes to mind because in the playoffs, you get revenue.
Yeah, and they get to keep all that revenue.
And you share
because they're independent. They're not.
You're like the Ohio State, Bama's, everybody that's in like a conference, you have to split it with that conference. Yeah. But Notre Dame is getting $20.5 million.
Plus all the revenue they get.
All the revenue.
So they actually can give you more money to a degree because it's all for them.
It was more like they put it back kind of into the school to really boost their facilities and everything. They had more to offer. I think honestly, could you see more schools starting to leave conferences altogether? Could kind of dissolve and schools becoming more independent?
Why not? Why not?
Why should I have to give my winnings in my hard-earned?
Yeah, that's my whole thing too. When we talked about this, when we were talking about this back when the college football playoffs were going on, and you brought up because I did not know that about Notre Dame. I remember always hearing about growing up and listening to people talk about Notre Dame this, Notre Dame that, blah blah. It's not fair. I'm like, what do you mean? And when you really broke down on that episode that we talked about, why the fuck do if I'm out here busting my ass? And I'm winning these games. Why do I gotta give my share to a team that didn't make it anywhere? Like, no, that's my money, dog. We keeping that for us. Yeah, no, absolutely. I could definitely see a lot more teams going independent. That would be crazy. It'd be crazy, but like, why not?
If you get rid of
it boosts your program, your school. You get to put more money back into it, and
you get to pick what teams you face. You're not stuck facing the same people every time.
You get to pick your schedule, how you really want to do it. Absolutely. KU, get on that. No, get on that, KU. Let's get back to some glory days.
No, I'm not a big fan of that. I like the rivalry. I like the conferences. Yes. But like, it's definitely a thing. I could definitely see some schools, particularly, looking to maybe leave. Like in the SEC, Bama's Bama. Ohio State out of the Big Ten, Michigan. Yeah. Some of those schools.
What do you think about the Pac-12? I think it's just like Washington State and Oregon State.
Some conferences are pretty much almost all dissolved to begin with.
There's what's the point? But again, that is the biggest news we got coming out of college right now. NCAA, their pockets are definitely being broke by basically paying back $3 billion to former and current players that are still going. That's huge. Shout out to them players. Shout out to the colleges for being able to pay their players directly now. But speaking of last thing on college that we need to talk, it's not really big news, but it's a little concerning because we like this man. We're fans of this man.
Oh, yeah.
Deion Sanders, prime time, is away from Colorado Buffaloes right now. He's dealing with an unspecified illness that has got him out, and there is no timetable for his return. His not oldest, the youngest, Shiloh Sanders, made a comment that Dad is in good spirits, but he is ill. They're not commenting anymore, but again, I wish nothing but the best for Deion. I hate to hate. Obviously, if you don't know what's going on with Deion, he's had the blood clots, he's lost toes, he's lost part of his leg, shit like that. So you can only, specify what is going on with Deion, and I hope it's nothing serious because I'm a big Deion Sanders fan. I was really looking forward to seeing him in Colorado this year, what they look like without the Travis Hunters and his sons and stuff like that. So we wish Deion nothing but the best and get well. Again, we don't have no idea when he's coming back, what type of illness this really is, but it's obviously enough to have him home and have him around-the-clock treatment. And that's really all that we really know, and they're really giving. So, but there's that. Sticking on the football side of things, Brendan, we have some players that are holding out for some new contracts.
We do.
We have some guys. We have some guys.
Not as many as I thought.
Not as we thought. Really, the biggest name out there is T.J. Watt. T.J. is holding out, but him and the Pittsburgh Steelers feel like they're going to work out a long-term deal. Yeah. Got to be thinking, is T.J. going to be making more than Myles Garrett? You have to think it's going to be close to that.
Same age.
Both defensive player of the years, right?
Well, so these are the players we have that are holding out.
Yep.
Obviously, we all know if you follow any kind of sports. Trey Henderson, obviously for the Bengals, holding
Absolutely.
out. Wanting a new deal, rightfully so. The sack leader last year and put up back-to-back seasons of 17 and a half
Absolutely.
sacks. T.J. Watt wants a new deal. And again, rightfully so, going into last year, I believe, of his deal. But Scary
Terry's unhappy. Very unhappy.
He's wanting a new deal as well. And then we got Jalen Ramsey's holding out, but they're in the midst of trade
talks.
And then Jonnu Smith, tight end from the Dolphins, he's also holding out.
Don't forget James Cook, but he is showing up because he really can't afford to be fined. He can't be fined.
I mean, he's
holding out, not holding out.
He's holding in.
He's holding in. Yeah.
He's holding in.
We'll go with that.
And then the one last player that's not quite made the list because he's not technically a pro, doesn't have a contract, is also the Bengals' 17th overall pick.
Shamir Stewart.
He has left now mandatory minicamp because he has not gotten a deal. He's been there through everything, OTAs.
But we did learn something new today.
We did, but he held out because the Bengals were trying to put a clause in there where pretty much if he gets in any kind of trouble, he gets suspended for games, or he misses, or anything at all can happen, they could void his later years' money, and nobody else has ever done this. The Bengals have every right to do it, but he's like,
you're not going to do it to me,
no,
dog.
I'm not going to be the one that tries to set this precedent, so no, you either remove that in the contract, or I'm not signing it. So he's now officially left. He's been there going through, the film study and does everything but on the field, but now he's officially gone. But you pointed out, we did learn something.
Yes, we did learn something new. And when Brandon and I were talking about this earlier today, Brandon was like, I don't know. So, Shamir Stewart Shamir Stewart could opt out and be redrafted by a new team next NFL draft if he does not sign a contract. So, in the collective bargaining agreement set forth the procedure for players who don't want to play for the team that drafted them. In a nutshell, a player can sit out the entire year and re-enter the draft. If he doesn't like where he gets drafted the second time, he gets sit out a second season and become an undrafted free agent following next draft. What? I did not know this was a thing because when we were talking about it, you're like, I'm surprised more players really haven't done this. Like, man, I don't want to go there. But this all also comes down to him not signing a contract. So if he doesn't sign a contract this year with the Bengals, for example, and he sits out this whole year, He could just re-enter the draft and be reselected again by a new team.
Yeah, but there's no way he's going to get drafted in the first round.
No, like you were the 17th overall. Think about it. He was the 17th overall pick. And again, we're not shitting on him, but you only had 4.5 sacks for your whole college
career. He didn't have like a horrific college career, but I think the reason why it doesn't really happen is it's a lot of money to walk away from and to expect to be drafted higher or run the same spot is laughable because like, there's no more film on you. The last I have, and a year has passed, you're a year older. You can't go back to, I mean, I don't know why you couldn't go back to college, because before you couldn't go back to college because, well, you're getting paid as a pro, but now they get paid as pros. So I don't know why you couldn't, but there's still rules not allowing that. They'll eventually get it figured out with that. But
if you're at Bengals, like this is my whole issue, Brandon. Bengals, what the fuck are we doing? We are not Bengals fans.
They have no money.
We are football fans, but dude, what are we doing?
They have no money. They have no money. They have no money. The owner is cheap. They have no money. They paid Joe Burrow. They paid their tight end.
I will say this,
Jamar Chase,
and I think you will agree with me. Bengal fans, I don't want to hear shit this year about, well, we could have done something, but our defense. No, I don't want to hear nothing about that bullshit. I don't. Because Burrow could have took a little bit of less money. Chase could have took less money. T. Higgins, no, I think he didn't really. I mean, he got what I felt like he should have got.
I disagree.
He could have took a little less, maybe.
I disagree. You pay your quarterback. Only quarterback that's playing right now that's taking less money is Patrick Mahomes. Sort of. He just has a contract that you can fluctuate, and Josh Allen, because you can fluctuate it. But you didn't have to keep T. Higgins. You didn't have to keep the tight end. You've paid money to your O-line, and you whiffed on all of that. It's time that you have to eat the bullet sometimes and move off of it and just hope for the best. You could pay your leading sack leader that's 30 years old, but you refuse. You refuse to keep the talent you had that allowed you to get back-to-back AFC Championship games. You didn't pay them,
and they all walked.
Because honestly, I'm going to blame this all on Joe Burrow. I blame it all on Joe Burrow. For all you Bengals fans that love Joe Burrow, I'm not hating on Joe Burrow. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's top 5 quarterback in the league. He's been to a Super Bowl, lost to Matthew Stafford in the Rams, but he wanted his guys. He wanted his offensive weapons. He did not want to go without, and this is what you get. They think the U's can outscore them. We've seen this with the early Rams, with Jared Goff and Todd Gurley. Did not result into the Super Bowl. We saw it with the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. Oddly enough, it did work, but that's a one-off. You saw the Rams, the greatest show on turf. It worked there, but they still actually had some kind of semblance of a defense. And the Bengals, you're going to have to put up.
I'm telling you right now, the Bengals defense is going to break records and not the good kind this year. I'm telling you that right now.
What happens if the old line's not any better than it was last year? If it's the same as last year, it's not going to matter.
Well, and you also have to look at it, too. Think about this. Joe Burrow's been in the league a few years now. You have no running game. Last year was Joe Burrow's first full healthy season. Think about that. That was his first full healthy season. What if Joe gets hurt?
Sort of.
He was
coming off that
weird
wrist hand thing.
I mean, think about it. And T. Higgins missed majority of last year as well. Yeah. But again, we understood. He won't admit it, but you were holding out for that contract. You're not going to get hurt.
Well, he wasn't fully healthy, so I'm not going.
Yeah, I'm not going. But again, I don't want to hear nothing about no defense for the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't want to hear it from Cincinnati. Yeah. I don't want to hear it. But
so moving on to the other holdouts, Jonnu Smith, he's wanted a new deal, but it's been in trade rumors with the Steelers. Nothing has came about. Jalen Ramsey, obviously, we know is trade rumors.
Yep.
But Scary Terry, obviously wanting a new deal. He's in the final year of his deal, 3 years.
Well, he came out and said that he was very upset that an extension already hasn't been done. He felt like it should have already been taken care of and done. Obviously, if you did not know, living under a rock, which if you are, I apologize. They obviously made the trade for Deebo Samuel, who's one,
dude looking thicker than his fingers.
One big biscuit from Popeyes away being a tight end, dog. Good Lord, he thick.
So Scary Terry right now currently is making $23 million, and this is some of the guys that are. Well, I can see why he's holding out. Debo's making more than him, and he better than the thicker than the Snickers Twinkie looking ass, Deebo Samuel's currently. Nico Collins at 24. Devontae Smith at 25. DJ Moore, 27. Jalen Waddle was also looking pretty fucking thick this year, too, at 28.
Yeah, I think he's better than Waddle. He's
T.
better than
Higgins,
DJ Moore.
28. Brandon Ayuk is at 30.
I think if Scary Terry's right around that 26.
Oh, he's 30. Don't
27.
What you saying? Are you saying 26? The dude's making 23. 26? Don't, like, shit. 26 puts him right above Devontae Smith and below DJ Moore and Jalen Waddle. He's better than Jalen
Okay, I
Waddle.
put him just above
And he's better
DJ
than
Moore
Higgins,
and Waddle.
And he's better than Brandon Ayuk. He's going to get 30 a year. He's going to get something around, probably about around 31 million a year. Put him right above
Brandon Ayuk.
He put him right below AJ Brown and right above Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay. That's perfect. That's a good
29-year wide receiver hitting his mid-prime.
Yeah, that's fine.
And you can afford it. Your quarterback's on a rookie deal.
Yeah.
So, obviously, they definitely much can afford it.
I think they'll get it done. I just think Scary Terry's upset. He felt like it should have been done already. And rightfully so. You can feel that way. I think they'll get it done. This team could be a very hot commodity to look at coming into this NFL season. They could be a very hot commodity. Obviously, Jalen Daniels got to be coming out and hit that sophomore slump that a lot of guys hit. But this team is poised, defensively and offensively. But
they are. But moving on to the edge rushers are holding out. Henderson and TJ Watt. TJ Watt's wanting a new deal.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett is 30. TJ Watt is 31. Does he surpass Myles Garrett at $40 million a year?
I
don't think Henderson will, but so does TJ Watt.
TJ Watt, yeah. TJ Watt. If not, it's going to be damn near close, but the guarantees will be more.
Total guaranteed money is $123 million.
I think the guaranteed money will be right around there in that 120 to 125 million. I think
that's a lot of money.
It is, but I think that's where it's going to be. And this.
Well, that's fully guaranteed is $88 million.
Okay, so like I said, I think
so around like 95.
Yeah. I think somewhere it's going to be a couple million more. That's where it's going to be at. Maybe not be the number, but the guarantee. And that's really what it comes down to is the fucking guaranteed money. That's really what it comes down to in these goddamn contracts for these guys.
Well, right now, Daniel Hunter, who's also 31, is making $35 million a year with $54 million.
Yeah, the TJ gonna blow that fucking shit out the water.
But I mean, it looks pretty much kind of like a 1 year. Kind of like a 1 year deal.
So
I hope he surpasses Myles Garrett.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Another big player that just got released, the Green Bay Packers and Jair Alexander were trying to work on a contract reconstruction or a new deal type of thing. Did not work out. They released him. Jair was by releasing Alexander, it frees up $46 million in cap space for the Green Bay Packers. That's third most in the league. That's pretty huge. Third most in the league. That's pretty huge. I don't know what you're doing with it, but that's pretty fucking big to have. That's a nice thing to have in your back pocket.
I mean, is it? Like, what are you going to do with it this year?
I have no
idea. They have nobody at corner. They just turned a wide receiver.
Yeah, so they're making a wide receiver go corner. I'm like, oh no. I'd be curious to see where Alexander lands. Again, he's a guy that is very talented, super duper talented, just sometimes not available when you really need him to be available. And that's kind of the problem. It's kind of the problem for him. But let's see where he ends up going. Another interesting name, Nick Chubb, going to Houston. Talk about forming a backfield with Houston between Mixon and him. That's going to be potentially very dangerous. Like off the rip, where would you rank that duo? Like off the rip, that's got to be a top, right up there, the top duo, right?
Yeah, I mean, it probably puts them. Honestly, to me, they probably puts them the best running back duo in the league with how Joe Mixon looked last year with the Texans, and then obviously a very healthy Nick Chubb.
Yeah, that's going to be
the
fucking
most deadliest running back duo out of the backfield, considering they both can catch and they both run between the tackles and they can run outside.
That could be a big thing for C.J. Stroud. Less throwing, a lot more.
Considering all they really have is Nico Collins out there, so that definitely will help. And if Nick Chubb is anything close to what he has been, that's a great signing for about $5 million.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That's gonna be great. Other news: if you did not, I did not know this until I looked up on NFL.com. The Patriots to unveil a Tom Brady statue on August 8th. Be curious to see who the fuck they had they make that statue, dog. Because statues here lately have not been great, man. No. They have not been great. And I'd be very curious to see what type of, what moment they use for Tom Brady. It'd be very interesting as well.
I would assume probably like one of the screaming.
You think like the one where he won and he was like this, maybe something like that?
No, it would be him screaming.
Him screaming? That's fair. Oh, would he like running out with it? Like helmet or no helmet?
Helmet. When he's running out and he's screaming. That's like iconic Tom Brady. When I think of Tom Brady, that's literally what I think of is Tom Brady screaming.
In other news, unfortunately, speaking of the Houston Texas safety Ward was arrested on assault charge of a family member. What is up with these motherfuckers? Tanner said, shout out to our boy Tanner. We were talking about it on 2K today. What is up with these athletes making millions of money? You know, thinking, you know what? I'm gonna catch a charge beating up someone in my family. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Like, that's the one thing I can't stand about athletes. That's the one thing I can't stand.
You do know that other people, not just athletes, beat up.
Well, people in general, but it's like you're making millions and millions of dollars. I
think you're really missing the point. You got all this money, and you can't give some of your family member. You just beat the shit out of a little money. You shut the fuck up.
No, pretty much. Like your own family turning you in, dog. Like just know, like when I get out, you ain't getting nothing.
Well, clearly, they weren't getting enough to turn them in. So
they were not. Speaking of the Raiders, we talked about so much about Trey Henderson and obviously the rookie, but Gurman, am I saying his name right? Gurman Pritt is his name. Am I saying that right, Brandon? Help me, brother. You know I'm not great with names here.
Sure. It was Pratt.
Pratt. He was their tackle leader for the Cincinnati Bengals last year. Tackle leader, linebacker. They said, nah, we don't need him. Released him. He signed with the Raiders. So he did not. Good sign for the Raiders. You're getting a dog, a guy that obviously can make a tackle, something that the Raiders do need defensively. But again, it just comes to show you, like, what? Like, shout out Cincinnati, man. We don't need a defense. Like, they might be hoping open tryouts. So if you're in Cincinnati and you want to have just play this, you might get a chance to because they might be doing some open tryouts for defense. But that's really about the big news we got in right now. Like NFL wise, like I said, we're getting closer to the season. We're not well, about 90 days out, I think it is. So we're less.
We're way less.
Way less. 60 days.
We're like less than 80.
80? Oh, that's because August. Yeah, August is the Hall of Fame game. That's right. I said that last week. My apologies. But NFL is getting closer, so obviously, like we said before, we'll be having our NFL stuff ramping up even more. Going over to some basketball talk. So obviously, when it comes to college basketball, they do it in halves. You got first half and second half. Apparently, the NCAA has considered a potential rule change to the men's basketball, moving it from 2 20-minute halves to 4 10-minute quarters. I think that is the appropriate way to go about it instead of doing it by halves because
the women's already do that way.
Yeah.
The pros do it that way, so you might.
High school does it that way.
It'd be really interesting to see how it actually alters college men basketball by splitting up in quarters and to see how the runs actually happen.
Yeah, it would definitely.
And how college coaches actually utilize their bench, knowing that you don't have to try to figure out what spots to rest your guy in a 20-minute fucking quarter.
Absolutely. I'm here for that rule, and I honestly think that should have already happened, and the fact that we're waiting this long to get to that point is crazy. But if it does happen, this could change next year. It could be implemented this coming basketball season. So
I don't think anybody could be opposed to that.
No. Speaking of the WNBA basketball, season on basketball, we got to talk about this. So we obviously have talked about how the WNBA season is not very long. It's not very long.
No.
We got some players in the W.
No.
A player.
Satu Sabali. I guess is the best I got. She plays for Mercury. She's a
Phoenix
forward.
Mercury.
They played 9 games in 18 days, and this isn't really reasonable.
And she thinks the commissioner should do something about it. And, like, what do you want her to do about it? Like, one, your commissioner don't give a fuck about you anyway.
It's really not that. It's more the fact that you're complaining that she played 9 games in 18 days.
Yeah.
So I'm confused. Like, you play a very short schedule. Your season is very short.
Yes.
You have the men's over here playing 82 games.
Yes.
And they're wanting to kind of shorten that, but they play back to back.
Yeah.
You didn't ever have to play a back to back.
Yeah. I think it's unfortunate because the W is getting so much more attention now, and these women are under a different microscope than they've never been under before, and that they're complaining about things that it's just like, it's really, I understand what she's saying, but at the same time, it's like we've said before, the season's very short. Your season's not long. So it's kind of hard to.
Do you just want to play less games?
Like you're already playing like how many games now? Like, we can't shorten the season anymore, and then be like, what's the point of the W at that point? But
it just seems like the women
being a lot of complaining.
Women basketball players, it almost seems like they don't want their league to be successful.
No,
they attack Caitlin Clark because she brings viewership, she brings money. So
then she gets hurt, and then now nobody goddamn
right.
watching.
But then you have former star athletes attacking her.
Yes.
That's weird. We have players winning awards out of the W that shouldn't be winning them, but they do. Then you have players complaining because they have to play 9 games in 18 days. It's basketball. That's your job. Like,
yeah.
I'd have any issues with players complaining about having to play a sport, because at the end of the day, it's a sport. I just feel like half the time they don't want their sport to be successful.
Yeah, it's weird energy, very weird energy. Sticking on the W, the New York Liberty are still undefeated. They are your defending WNBA champions. The record in the W for most consecutive wins, I think, is 13 is the record. So the Minnesota Lynx, they were undefeated. They actually suffered their first defeat yesterday on the hands of the Seattle Storm. So the Minnesota Lynx is no longer undefeated. So we got one undefeated team left in the W, and that is the New York Liberty. So shout out to the Liberty. Like I said, we're 11 games into the season. Paige Beckers did make her return back to the W after missing a couple games due to a concussion. And let me tell you, she lit it up in her game back. 35 points, 6 boards, 5 made threes. She went off, and she put herself in elite company. Think about this. Paige Beckers joins Caitlin Clark. Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark are the only rookies ever to have 35-plus points and 5 made threes. That's elite company. Elite company. It's elite company. That's all I got to say. A lot of people like to compare Paige and Caitlin, and listen, they're two different players. Paige is a straight bucket getter. Let's keep it 100. She's a straight bucket getter. She can rack up assists. Caitlin is more of like, I can get everybody involved, but I can score too. Paige, she's just a straight bucket getter. Paige is doing great things. Obviously, she's been up and down this year. Obviously, she was the number 1 overall pick to the Dallas Wings. They're not doing too great. They're 1-10. It's not good. And obviously, when you're the number 1 overall pick, it's never going to be good most of the time. So, that's that. Not else much going on in the W, like I said. Be a little bit more interesting when the playoffs get here. And obviously, when Caitlin Clark returns. Sticking on the W, Brandon doesn't normally talk about this one. This was crazy to me. So, the BET Awards were over the weekend, and they have an award, Sportswoman of the Year. And I did not know that Angel Reese has won it 3 consecutive years. She won it in 23, 24, and she won it in 25. Now, I don't have a problem with the other 2 years because I didn't get to see the nominees. But the people she went up against, Dawn Staley, incredible coach, South Carolina. No argument there. Got a statue. Hell of a coach. Asia Wilson. Probably the best player in the W right now. Shakira Richardson. We all know Shakira Richardson. Hell of a track star. Simone Biles. The most decorated Olympian we can think of in women's sports. Floje Johnson. NCAA champion. Still at LSU. Shields. Probably the greatest women boxer all fucking time. Coco, who just won a big tennis tournament.
She won the French Open.
The French Opening. Angel Reese. And then Juju Watkins. Those were the nominees for Sports Women of the Year at the BET Awards. And Angel Reese won it.
For all you don't know, 'cause I didn't know, it's a American award show that
Yes.
was established back in 2001 for black entertainment.
Yes.
So it's for the black women.
Yes.
The most, pretty much the most famous black athlete woman of the year.
And that's a hell of a list right there. And when I look at that list, Angel Reese would not have been the person I would have thought that would have won the award.
No.
Shields literally she tweeted out, she goes, I thought accolades mattered. Literally, she's holding every belt you can think of in boxing. On her thing. You think about Dawn Staley, Angel Wilson was the best. Again, I'm not taking nothing away from Angel. It's just not who I would have given the award to. And I just think, I don't even think Juju should have got it. She hasn't accomplished anything yet. Hell of a star in college basketball. Rising star, is going to be a mega star when she gets to the W. Like Coco, super decorated. Shield, immensely decorated. Like Flo J. Johnson, shouldn't have got it. An amazing woman as well. But Simone Biles, Shakira Richards, Angel Wilson, Dawn Staley, Coco, Shields, they're all decorated with accolades across the fucking board. And they did not win the award. And that's just where I said, taking nothing from Angel, just not who I thought should have got the award. I thought it should have went to one of them young ladies, but that's just not where it went. And that's unfortunate. I
didn't even know this was an award.
Yeah, it's a thing.
I think it's really weird that we come up with a bunch of random awards. I think it's weird that we give out the Grammys. The Grammys don't kind of make sense. I mean, everybody watches movies, TV shows. These random awards. I don't know. I don't agree that she won it, but I think have a participation trophy. I guess it's kind of what I feel like. A lot of these awards. I'm not taking anything away from these awards at all. They should be celebrated, but didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah.
Didn't even know what BET stood for.
Black Entertainment.
No shit.
Black Entertainment Television.
No shit.
Yeah. I did not know that she had won it 3 years in a row. That was news to me. That I was not educated on that. Again, when you look at that list of women, not who I thought the award would have went to. But what can you do? It's a popularity contest, and that's kind of how I felt how the award was given out. But I talked about it over on my TikTok account. A lot of people and I had some great conversations. But moving on, we had some players. Moving on off that, moving to the NBA. So we got some injured players that had surgery. Zach Edey had his ankles restabilized. That's a tall man. That's a big man. Ankle. His ankle stabilized. He's going to miss the beginning of the 2025-26 season. Darius Garland is going to miss 4 to 5 months.